6 June 1944. Dawn over the Normandy coast. 0630 hours. The salt-laden wind carries the roar of landing craft and the staccato of machine guns as the first waves of American infantry struggle through the surf of Omaha Beach. Above the dunes, hidden in the damp grass of the Normandy bocage, German eyes peer through concrete slits. Soldiers of the 352nd Infantry Division, veterans transferred from the Eastern Front, watch with grim satisfaction as men fall in the shallows. Then, from the steel bowels of an LST, something monstrous emerges. Not a tank, but a bulldozer. An ordinary Caterpillar D7, yet armored with steel plates, its blade raised like a shield, lumbering forward under fire as though the MG-42s were spitting rain. This was the moment when the Atlantic Wall, Vauban's successor, built by the sweat of enslaved laborers and the concrete of the taut organization, first revealed its fragility. For 4 years, the Germans had sown Normandy with over 6 million mines. S-mines that leapt and burst at waist height, Teller mines that could rip the tracks from a Sherman, wooden shoe mines undetectable by early detectors. Between the high-water mark and the villages lay belts up to 300 yards deep, interlaced with barbed wire and covered by pre-registered artillery. General Feldmarschall Rommel himself had boasted that the first 24 hours would be decisive, that the Allies would be thrown back into the sea by an unbreakable crust of steel and fire. His soldiers believed it. They had watched the mines laid, row upon row, each one a silent promise of mutilation. Yet what they witnessed instead was a spectacle of methodical, almost casual efficiency. Engineers of the 6th Engineer Special Brigade and the 146th, 299th, and 348th Engineer Combat Battalions waded ashore under murderous fire, carrying not only rifles, but the tools of construction. By 2008, the first bulldozers were already at work. Armored with salvaged boilerplate welded in British yards, these machines pushed forward at 4 miles an hour, blades lowered, burying mines beneath tons of sand and earth or simply crushing them into impotence. One blade could clear a lane 10 feet wide in minutes. Where German pioneers had needed hours to lay a single belt, American operators, many of them former road builders from Iowa and Texas, erased it in the time it took to smoke a lucky strike.
Official records are precise and merciless. On D-Day alone, 16 armored bulldozers operated on Omaha, clearing 8 50-yard lanes through the minefields to the lateral road at the base of the bluffs by noon. By nightfall, 30 more had landed. Between 6 and 12 June, bulldozers and engineer teams neutralized over 150,000 mines in the American sector. German after-action reports from the 352nd Division speak of stunned disbelief. The enemy advances behind earth-moving machines as if on maneuvers. Our mines are simply pushed aside like children's toys. Oberleutnant Heinrich Severloh, the Beast of Omaha, who fired 12,000 rounds from Widerstandsnest 62, later recalled in his memoir that the sight of a bulldozer shrugging off direct 88mm hits and continuing to scrape a path inland shattered the certainty of every man in his bunker. And through it all, recurring like a quiet refrain amid the chaos, was the simple can of sea-ration beans and frankfurters heated on a scrap of burning hexamine, passed hand to hand among the engineers. To the Americans, it was merely supper. 10 million cases shipped across the Atlantic in 1944 alone, each can stamped with the understated bounty of a nation that could fight a global war and still feed its soldiers like farmhands at harvest. To the Germans, whose own rations had dwindled to sawdust bread and watery soup even before the invasion, the sight of discarded cans glinting among the churned earth became an almost unbearable symbol. Captured on 8 June near Formigny, Feldwebel Franz Gockel stared at a half-eaten can of pork and beans and muttered to his American guard, "You fight with full stomachs, we fight with empty ones." That is the difference.
The transformation was swift and irreversible. Men who had been told that the armies were soft, that they would break after the first bloody nose, watched instead as their carefully prepared killing ground was dismantled by construction equipment. Minefields that were meant to bleed an army dry became highways for trucks and tanks. By 9 June, the beachhead was secure enough for Eisenhower to walk ashore. By 25 June, Cherbourg fell. Its port opened in large part because bulldozers had cleared the minefields blocking the approaches faster than German engineers could lay new ones. In prisoner cages behind Utah Beach, thousands of gray-faced lancers sat in silence, staring at the mountains of American supplies, crates of ammunition, jerry cans of gasoline, and endless cans of food that required no requisition form, no Führer order, only the quiet certainty of a nation that produced more than it could ever consume. In the end, the armored bulldozer became more than a machine. It was the embodiment of a different kind of warfare, one fought not by starving zealots in concrete tombs, but by a democracy wealthy enough to turn the tools of peace into instruments of victory. And the humble sea ration can, dented and mud-smeared, remained long after the last mine was buried, a small, enduring testament to the truth that abundance is itself a weapon, that freedom does not merely arm its defenders, it feeds them, clothes them, and drives them forward on steel tracks where ideology alone falters and dies in the damp Norman earth.